Thank you for coming. It's Thanksgiving. This time we're moving on to invocation of Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Tom Allen. Mr. Allen, if we all rise, please. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes or corrections to be made to the minutes of November the 6th council meeting? Ms. Floyd? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Floyd. Anyone else? We have a motion to accept the minutes as is, with the exception of certain B on line 11 where Ms. Floyd said it needs to be. Motion, Mr. Allen. We have a second. Second, Mr. Waters. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 4, citizens' comments. The attorney, Mr. Harmon, calls your name. This first go around is on agenda items only. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Harmon calls your name. Please step forward, state your name and district you live in, just for the record, and address the chair, please. Like I said, the first go around is only on the items that's on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, no one has signed up to speak at this point in the meeting.
Okay, Mr. Harmon, thank you very much. We're on item number 5A, third reading. This will be 2018-047. Ordinance to amend agreement at development of a joint county industrial and business park, 2010 park of Anderson and Greenville County, so as to enlarge the park. It's Project Fox. We're in a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak forward to this, please step forward and state your name, district, address the chair. Anyone at all? And seeing none, public hearing will be closed. We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Waters. Any discussion? Ms. Floyd? Wait a minute. You on?
Mr. Burns and Mr. Leon, I can't think of your last name.
Mr. Harmon.
Mr. Harmon were kind enough to work with me on the telephone, because this too got pretty confusing, but we were able to get it straightened out. But I want to ask this question so we can put it in the record. Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I have made an error.
Okay.
I apologize for it. We're on number 8, aren't we?
5A.
5A, okay, good. Mr. Chairman, may I please wait until 5B?
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? On favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Number 5B, 2018-042, a master bond ordinance provide for the insurance of sale of special resource revenue bonds of Anderson County. Before we go into public hearing, Ms. Davis, would you step forward just a minute and speak this way? Anybody else, so everybody that ain't been here to sort of know what we're talking about?
That we're going to issue, and any future special source revenue bonds. It tells the bondholders what we're going to abide by, that we are not going to get rid of any multi-county industrial park that it's in. We're not going to borrow any more money if we're not financially sound and able to sustain the debt, and that we're part revenue in excess of what we're giving them a better claim to any future bondholders than what these bondholders are. So basically it's assurances to the current person who buys the bonds and any future bondholders. So they can look at that document and they can tell what the game plan is and what the rules of the road are.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And stay right there handy for a second. We might have a question. We're going to go into a public hearing now. Though anyone wishing to speak to this matter, please come forward, state your name and district, and address the chair. Public hearing. Anyone at all? Seeing here none, public hearing will be closed. Now open for discussion. We have a motion on the floor to get it for discussion.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Allen. Second, Ms. Wilson. Now discussion. Do you have any questions, anything for Ms. Davis? You got any?
May I quickly point out, maybe the simplest part of this is it is a special source revenue bond that we'll be dealing with, and it comes from the sewer enterprise fund, and it doesn't come from the rest of our property taxes, so folks will have maybe a simpler understanding for it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Those light signs, the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 5C, 2018-043, a series of ordinances providing for the insurance and sale of special source revenue bonds of Anderson County, South Carolina, the principal amount of not exceed $28,750,000. So if you'd like to.
Yes, sir. Thank you for this third and final reading for the funds to bring to fruition the 3 projects that the Sewer Ad Hoc Committee and full council recommended that we do. Exit 14, Wellpine, and also decommissioning Section 20 and diverting the flow to Rocky River. Your wastewater manager highly recommends these 3 projects, and for future economic development, it's a necessity that we do this. So thank you for doing this. It will be 2 series, probably issue about 8.8, and then we'll come behind that and issue the second round. We're going to refund the 4 special source revenue bonds that are currently outstanding. So I think we're going to get a lot of bang for our buck and a lot of future economic development, according to Mr. Bursnell.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. We're going to public hearing now. Anyone wishing to speak to this, please step forward, state your name and district, address the chair. Anyone at all? Seeing no one, public hearing to be closed. We have a motion to move this forward.
So move.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Mr. Graham. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Floyd first.
Thank you. Now, this is the one that I wanted to make it clear that this $28,750,000 will not be placed on the taxpayers' back. Ms. Davis, would you please explain how this is going to be done?
Yes, ma'am. The fee in lieu of revenues that come in from industry that council approves, it goes into a special fund, and that fund solely will be the means, the mechanism whereby we repay this debt. It will not come from the sewer fund. It will not come off the backs and be burdened to the taxpayers of Anderson County. Basically, industry will be paying for it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just very quickly.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, I had some people ask me questions about this. Why are you issuing another bond? And this has been very well explained now as to how it's going to be paid for. But just to let people know, we've got some sewer in Anderson County that's literally falling apart. It has to be repaired. And for years now, I have heard the refrain, even before I got on council, why aren't you developing the interstate? Why aren't you putting infrastructure out on the interstate? Well, a lot of this will go towards infrastructure on the interstate to open that up, and this is going to be a great doorway to opening this up to industry. So I just want that for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Moving on to item number 6A, 2018-051, the ordinance amending the zoning map to rezone plus or minus 1 acre from R20 single-family residential to RD residential duplex district at 284 Great Road, District 4. This is in Mr. Allen's district. We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Mr. Allen, second, Mr. Waters. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 6B, 2018-052, ordinance to amend the zoning map to rezone plus or minus .33 acres from R-M1 mixed residential district to C-2 highway commercial at 3 Beaver Dam Road, being District 7, Ms. Wilson's district. We have a motion.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Wilson, move forward. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Graham. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 6C, 2018-053, ordinance to amend the agreement for development of a joint county industrial and business park out of the 2010 Park of Anderson and Greenville counties to enlarge the park, Project Triple. Mr. Burris, you have anything you want to add to this or say?
Nothing other, Mr. Chairman, than Greenville is making that request to add to our park agreement, and it's a good thing for us. We'll get dollars out of that. Thanks, sir.
We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Waters, second. Mr. Allen, we have any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Floyd?
What happened to, where did he go? Oh, there.
There he is.
Yeah.
Ms. Floyd has a question, please.
Yes, could you please, Project Triple, we are unable to announce what Project Triple is at this time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We cannot announce it, okay? But can you assure us there won't be a chicken farm, will it?
No, ma'am. It is a manufacturing facility that is going to locate in Greenville County.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is where we reciprocate, and they are able to offer to their company in Greenville the state benefits that are available through multi-county park agreement. And part of that is that they will send 1% of their tax flow from that project in Greenville County to us for the entire length of their tax agreement.
Okay, Mr. Burris, I know that according to our agreement with these big companies, we cannot release the name of these places until it's time. And I think that's on third reading.
That's correct.
But, you know, I'm watching Anderson for these chicken farms.
Well, we're not looking for any.
Good. You don't have to look.
Yes, ma'am.
So much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor of the motion, show of hands. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 6D, 2018-054, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of an infrastructural credit agreement to provide for infrastructural credit for Amanda Development LLC to assist the development of a senior housing project. It's the one in Pendleton. Last week, did you have anything you want to add to this?
Nothing other than
requested this to help him.
Just it is a assisted living facility, probably much needed in that community, as well as an opportunity for investment in the town of Pendleton and continued growth there. It's recommended by our staff and from the Economic Development Advisory Board that you please give favorable consideration to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Ms. Wilson. Are there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 20. 6E 2018-055, ordinance to amend agreement for the development of the Joint County Industrial Business Park, that'd be 2010 Park of Anderson and Greenville counties, as to enlarge the park. This is the project we just talked about, project from Pendleton, Assisted Living. Do we have a motion to move this forward?
So move.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Ms. Wilson. Nelson, you have anything to add or anything?
No, sir, nothing other than what I've already said. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone have any discussion, comments, questions? Then all in favor of the motion, show of hands. By sign, so the motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to 6F 2018-056. Ordinance authorized under certain conditions the execution and delivery by Anderson County, South Carolina of a amended fee in lieu of taxes agreement for Project 3.0 with respect to a project in the county whereby the project would be subject to payments of certain fees in lieu of taxes and would be provided certain special source credits against fee payments and infrastructure improvements. Grant, Project 3.0. We have a motion to move this forward.
So move.
Motion, Mr. Waters, and second, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Nelson, you like to anything to say about this?
Yes, sir. This is one of our existing companies. Great opportunity. $45 million in capital investment in 20 jobs that pay $24.44 an hour is an average. Those 20 jobs alone will create almost $1 million in payroll per year annually. And but property tax is $356,000 in $370,000 in year one, and over the 30-year period will be a little over $3 million in property tax, $3,094,000. First year community impact, $4.5 million, and then over the 30 years community impact, $108 million.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, go ahead. Like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Everybody hear me all right? Mike?
What'd you say?
I missed you last week. Thank you, Mr. Graham. Moving on to item number 6, G 2018-057, the ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a special resource credit agreement between Anderson County, South Carolina, Ace Solar LLC and Pelzer Solar 1 LLC with respect to certain economic developments in the county, including provisions of certain special source revenue credits. Project Avocado. We have a motion to move this forward.
So move. Second.
Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Graham. Now, Mr. Nelson, you have anything?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. If you'll remember, about 4 months ago, council passed this solar project, this Project Avocado, and there were a number of properties that were listed as having solar investments placed on them. 2 of those were wrapped up in a negotiated fee agreement. And the company, of course, this hasn't gone on to the tax rolls yet. It's not been listed as a negotiated fee, but 2 of them were involved in a negotiated fee. The company has now requested that they be separated out of the negotiated fee and placed in separate infrastructure credit agreements so that they may be addressed individually if it comes to a sale of those properties. But it's just a request. It's an inconvenience for council, and I apologize for that, and they apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. We have a motion to move this forward. I done that, though, hadn't I? Yeah, I'm sorry. Any more discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Floyd?
Okay. You were doing okay until we got to this one and what you said at the end. You know, now I'm concerned because at the beginning, they all went together with this. Am I correct?
Well, some of them had, it was a combined agreement, but
yes.
Some of them had individual agreements even within the Project Avocado when we passed it back 4 months ago.
Okay, but we didn't know that because when I voted on this, you know, we were looking at it all together, but now here they come, they want to go bop, bop, bop. They want to separate out of it and do it individually. Okay, that might be well and good, but my question is why?
Well, these are also investment opportunities that, when they put these together, that they would be sold and traded from time to time, much like mortgage loans are, or things like that of that nature. So where and there are federal tax credits that are applied to these as well. So they're traded and used as a commodity, just like oil, almost.
Okay.
The tax income is the same. We don't lose anything on tax, on property tax side. That stayed the same.
But, okay, we don't lose anything, Mr. Burris, but how could this come back to slap us? Is there a way that this can, well, anything can happen, but what's the worst that can happen if they decide, Mr. Burris, it just doesn't set right? You know, because first they come at us with one thing, and now they're coming at us, changing things and coming back at us again separately. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I do, and this is really a new phenomenon in the entire state. There are probably 20 of these projects all across the state, different counties, with this company as well as other companies. And it's kind of a new process, and they're starting to learn a little more about how they need to operate. It's a new ball game. So it's new for us.
It's a new thing, and they've learned how to get us now.
I hope not.
I'm wary on this one. I am. I just don't. Well, anyway. Okay. I thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? Abstentions?
I'm going to oppose.
So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Wooten, Mr. Graham, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposes. We're on item number 7A, 2018-058, ordinance to amend Chapter 26, Article 2, the title sewers in its entirety. At this time, go down, because this should be coming a report from the Planning and Public Works Committee. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The third item in our agenda on the 16th was the presentation of the new proposed sewer ordinance, which would replace the old ordinance currently in place. The new ordinance's purpose and policy sets forth uniform requirements for direct and indirect contributions into the wastewater collection and treatment system for the county wastewater department, and enables the department to comply with applicable state and federal laws, including the Clean Water Act, state and federal laws, as amended, and the general pretreatment regulations, Title 40 of the Code of Regulations, Part 403, together with the South Carolina Pollution Control Act and other state and federal regulations. The objectives of this article are to prevent the introduction of pollutants into the sanitary sewer system, which will interfere with the operation of the system or contaminate the resulting sludge. Prevent the introduction of pollutants into the sanitary system, which will pass through the system, inadequately treated into receiving waters, or otherwise be incompatible with the system. To provide for fees for the equitable distribution of the cost of operation, maintenance, and improvement of the county sewer system, and to prescribe rules and regulations and a schedule of rates and charges for the services and facilities of the sewer system. To protect both the county sewer personnel who may be affected by wastewater and sludge in the course of their employment and the general public. To promote reuse and recycling of residential and industrial wastewater and sludge from the county sewer. To enable the county to comply with its National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit conditions, sludge use and disposal requirements, and any other federal or state laws to which the county is subject. To promote economic growth, including residential and industrial development. This article provides for the regulation of direct and indirect contributors to the sanitary sewer systems through the issuance of individual wastewater discharge permits and enforcement of general requirements for users, and authorizes monitoring, compliance, and enforcement activities. Establishes administrative review procedures, requires users report, and provides for the setting of fees for the equitable distribution of cost resulting from the program established in this article. This article shall apply to the county wastewater department and to persons inside and outside the county who are users of the county sewage system. The new ordinance states in far more complete and clear language, definitions, administration, prohibitions, responsibilities, construction, permitting, inspections, operations, discharges, hazardous waste, monitoring, reporting requirements, sewer service charges, enforcement management, and the new fats, oils, and grease requirements. We have in this 85 more pages than the old ordinance. The only possible upgrade that I personally can see in all of this, and I spoke with our county attorney before the meeting, is that if there's an entity or an individual that deliberately discharged a hazardous or dangerous substance into our system that caused extreme monetary damage or loss of life, I wonder if we shouldn't be looking at felonies instead of misdemeanors there. So that's an aside that I wanted to make y'all aware of. In any event, our committee unanimously recommends to County Council that we accept the new ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Coming from the committee, it doesn't need a second. This is first reading. 2 more readings on this, or any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, let me call your attention to one thing. This actually is a revision of Chapter 66, Title 2. That's a Scrivener's error.
Typo. Instead of 26, it's 66.
It should be 66. That's the chapter in the ordinance that is being revised.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 7B, 2018-059, ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 5 of purchasing of the Code of Ordinances, Anderson County, South Carolina, to add Section 2-655 titled Project Delivery Methods Authorized for Infrastructural Facilities. This will be in title only. Mr. Harmon, would you like to explain this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What this is directed at is to add to our purchasing code, our procurement code, different project delivery methods that are found in state law. What we would intend to do is track the state law on this and allow, for example, design build projects, as those projects are defined in state law, which would allow us to make projects more time effective, that we could bring them in quicker, and by doing that also receive an economic benefit from that as well. That's where we're headed. I will have the language prepared for the council on second reading.
Mr. Harmon, this will also be, if it's passed, it'll still be up to council to go this route or not.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
We have a motion to move this forward.
So move. Second.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Mr. Graham. Any discussion? And all in favor of the motion, show of hands. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 7C, 2018-060, ordinance providing for the insurance and sale of not exceeding $8,500,000 principal amount of general obligation bond of Anderson County. And at this time, I believe Mr. Graham had a committee meeting back around November the 12th, and if you want to give a report on that, Mr. Graham, before we proceed on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in reference to Capital Projects Committee meeting Thursday, November the 8th at 10 a.m. This is in reference to Fleet Service building. As everyone knows, the current conditions currently at Fleet Services, we've been requested to tried to do some repairs on that building for the past several years, and we basically just kept putting it off. This comes in form of a motion from the Capital Project Committee that we pursue this, mainly due to roof leaking. The building's basically in disrepair, and with the development of the TTI property on Pyramid Area Road with the county having that property now, we think this would be a good opportunity for the county to pursue different options for fleet services. What the Capital Project Committee is bringing before full council for your recommendation would be that basically we pursue a $8.5 million bond project for this. They're currently looking at basically about $7.8 million is what the cost would be on this, and naturally, just due to keeping things simple, we're requesting at $8.5 million to be considered. At this time, this is nothing more than the consideration of this. We would also be looking at getting approval to move forward with having a design of the building that basically is going to suit the county's needs for future growth and also for what we currently do in fleet services. So we would have that recommendation come back from this request as well. And they're looking at also what would be the best location at the current Pyramid Area Road TTI property as far as basically facility could be built that would house the fleet services for Anderson County and basically be a good fit for that property there. So we're asking, this comes forward.
Start the motion about getting some paperwork done. Council had to come back and do a lot of work, a lot of feedback before council votes on doing anything. But in saying that, open floor for discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Floyd.
before we start doing anything at all, let's explain about this. Ms. Davis, would you please come to the mic with the chairman's. Okay, now this is supposed to be.
Ms. Floyd, you might speak in that mic. I don't know if they can hear you or not, that mic.
Oh.
I don't know if they can hear you way down there.
Ms. Davis, it's supposed to be $8,500,000. It's supposed to be from a bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And we're supposed to be having a bond that we're getting ready to pay out.
Yes, ma'am.
And when we pay this bond that we have presently, then we will float another bond for $8,500,000. So we won't have two bonds. Okay. The taxpayers are not going to be responsible for the $8,500,000. Will they? I'm asking a question.
Basically, the 07 general obligation bond will roll off. This one will roll on. It will be less of a debt service payment, so you'll probably see a little bit of a decrease in the debt service millage that the taxpayer has currently.
Okay, all right. I was listening when the council member from District 3 said that it was $7 million. Did he say that?
Exceed $8.5 million. Yes, ma'am. The bond is, but right now the current design, it has a low of 7.2, a high of 8.5. So that's done. There's a lot of negotiation and talk with the architect engineers as to what the final design will be.
What the final?
We're going to have to bid it out, and it depends on the construction cost.
Okay, construction cost, not the design of the building, the construction cost of it.
Kind of both. You know, it can be, the design can be modified. There's some discussion probably needs to be done in that regard as well. So design and the construction, we will not issue it until the bids come back. So we're not talking about closing on this probably.
I see.
There's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Okay. Well, I have been talking with some of the constituents, and they the ones that know what's going on in Anderson, and they've been looking at all of the money, and they're beginning to get concerned. That's why it has been important for me to bring up the fact what's going to cost us more and what's going to be a bond. And okay, the bond that we have now that will roll off, how much was that one?
Well, the debt service is about, looks like $314,000 annually. The interest, we're going to pay interest on this bond, about $314 for 2 years, and then we'll pay principal and interest for 13 years.
Okay, but
07 was, I think it was issued in 07, and of course now it's getting paid off in 21.
okay, but I don't think my question was answered. How much was the bond that's going to roll off? How much is that one now?
How much is the annual debt service, or how much was the original bond itself?
How much was the original bond itself? This one is $8,500,000.
Okay, the original bond itself was $7.3 million.
So this one is more, because I have been hearing that this one was going to be less than what we're paying now.
The debt service will be, yes ma'am, it's projected to be less, about $775,000, whereas currently we're paying $850,000.
Okay, all right.
Say about $75,000 to $80,000.
Okay, all right. I understand debt service, but I don't know if everybody else out there understands debt service. Okay, could you put it in layman's term for me, please?
The payment on the bond, the principal and interest payment on this debt that council's approving to be issued.
Oh. Okay, is the conversation going on?
And
Thank you,
yes ma'am.
thank you. All right. I've got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Any more discussion? Like I said, enough before any of this is being enacted. There'll be several more votes, more discussion, more information, nail stuff down. All in favor of the motion, show hands. Whose like sign, so the motion carries. Naturally, moving on to item 8A, a resolution R2018-063, resolution expressing the intention of Anderson County, South Carolina, cause Anderson County, South Carolina to reimburse for proceeds of tax-exempt obligations for certain costs associated with the fleet services project. We have a motion to move this forward.
So move. Second.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Mr. Graham. Mr. Davis, you want to tack this and explain this? So everybody.
This reimbursement resolution, if we incur any cost prior to the issuance of the bond, which we will, because we've got the architects, engineers on the job, they will be submitting invoices. I will pay those, but this reimbursement resolution allows me, when we ultimately issue the general obligation bond, to reimburse ourselves out of those bond proceeds. So that's what that's for.
Any other questions? Discussion. All in favor of the motion, show hands. Like sign, so the motion carries. Naturally, moving on to 9A, a tax recommendations. We have a motion. Discussion.
So move. Second.
Motion, Mr. Allen, to move forward with recommendations from committee and staff, and second, Mr. Waters. Now discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Floyd.
For the past couple of years, I have been looking at the ATAX recommendations, and it was brought to my attention that these people who apply for ATAX money get money from the budget, they get money from the ATAX, and then they get money from the recreational funds that we appoint. From 3 different sources, some of them get that, and then others who apply for the ATAX money get nothing. Get nothing. I'm asking council members that even if we approve this one, the next year, let's take a look at who's getting what and how much money they're getting from other entities, budget, ATAX, and from council members. And let's look at the ones that didn't get anything and see if we can change that a little bit so it can be fair to more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd. Anyone
Mr.
else?
Chairman,
Ms. Wilson?
there's one group that applies for ATAX money, and I'm on their board, and even though I contribute and don't benefit from it, I must disclose and recuse myself from that one item. So could we take that out separately? It's South Carolina Upstate Equine Council.
I'll make the motion that we pull that out and vote on it separately. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Graham. Any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Like signs, the motion carries unanimously. So we're talking about everything but the Equine Council. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Mr.
If- I just have a question, and maybe nobody can answer it, but item number...
I can answer it. Might not be right, but I'll answer.
Okay, I'm counting on you. I'm holding you. 31, Kennel Club. It says here, the club's 2018 show attracted 856 entries from more than 50 miles away. A number of dogs entered did not show up at the arena due to owner concerns about climate control. It seeks money to buy additional magazine advertising and increase out-of-state entries. You know, and the committee recommended $901. I mean, if the problem up there is lack of climate control in Garrison Arena, which I certainly understand because it's colder than heck up there in the winter, $900 isn't going to do anything. So what's the use to advertise if people aren't showing up because the climate, they're afraid to bring their animals in?
I think you're trying to advertise for a different clientele, sounds like.
Right. Mr. Allen,
Was that an answer?
I don't know.
Well, see, I told you wouldn't be happy with it.
Hey, if you say so. Yeah, Glenn, did you have a...
just to say, this show is very weather dependent. If the first weekend in January is warm, people from Florida will send their dogs. Last year, the first weekend in January was cold, and they kept their dogs at home.
Okay.
I guess I'm asking to Mr. Allen, Fall Centers, they want to advertise, I guess, to a broader base besides people in Florida, and that's what this is about.
Correct.
Not trying to put a heating system or anything in the Garrison Arena. This is trying to advertise and broaden their clientele or their people participating in the show.
Correct, Mr.
Okay, and can I have one other one?
Yes, sir.
Item number 46. I'll be lighthearted about this. ATAX would pay for moving the McGee Mule Barn in Star to the Bart Garrison Ag Museum in South Carolina, converting it into an event center with a projected 9,240 room nights, hotel nights because of this event center. A $200,000 private grant has been secured for the $310,000 project, and Lake Hartwell Country would pay the remaining $80,000. I'm not sure who Lake Hartwell Country is, but that must be one bodacious mule barn. I just wondered what the thing looked like. It might be better than Garrison Arena. Maybe it's climate controlled. I don't know.
You do know we didn't that's not one recommended.
It's not recommended, but I said I was going to be lighthearted about it because it just says the committee. Well, the committee did recommend 10,000.
I didn't think we got nothing on that.
And
according to committee recommendation.
And the reason that we can fund that is one of the 8 allowed uses of accommodations tax under state law are tourism-related buildings.
Absolutely, I agree.
Fall in.
I'd just like to see a picture of the mule barn, I guess, but I know I'm being lighthearted about it. Don't worry, but it must be a great mule barn. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
While he's up there,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Floyd.
could you please explain why the Greek Festival that's held every year did not get funding, because they too bring a lot of people to Anderson during that time. And the objective is to, you have to bring a certain amount of people into Anderson to attend these functions.
No, actually, the eligibility of a grant is determined by the state accommodations tax law. There are 8 allowed uses, and renting tables and equipment, labor, entertainment, and security are not allowed uses of ATAX under state law. So they didn't submit an eligible grant.
they didn't submit an eligible grant.
Right.
Can anybody see which number that is?
He's got it right there.
53.
50 what?
3.
53.
Okay, okay, good. Please tell me that again now that I have it.
Okay, the state accommodations tax law, there are 8 things you can pay for. None of the requested items under number 53 are eligible for payment under the state law.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries. Got to do the equine. Wilson, excuse yourself. This time we have a motion to move forward to equine thing recommendations.
So moved.
Motion, Mr.
Second.
Grant, second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. Abstentions. So the motion carries. Nancy, Ms. Wilson recused herself. Mr. Wilson, yeah, when y'all get Moving on to item number 10, bid approval. Be a roof for the new courthouse. It's been in the budget for over a year now. Would ask Mr. Carroll if he'd step forward and things he'd like to make.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We received bids on this back in October. Staff recommends award to Lloyd Roofing out of Greenwood. $784,400 was the base bid, $98,000 for the alternate. You'll see 2 vendors above, Turnkey Roofing and Tecta, were non-responsive. Tecta sent us a letter saying they had left items out of their bid and they wanted to withdraw it, which they're allowed to do. And as you can see on the alternates, Turnkey Roofing did not bid the alternates that we asked for, so they were non-responsive. So we went to the next bid. Lloyd Roofing has did another walkthrough just to make sure everything's good, and they said yes, their price is good. So we recommend award to Lloyd Roofing.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. We have a motion to move this forward.
Second.
Motion, Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Waters. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Lights on, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Thanks, sir.
No, number 11, Homeland Security Grant, Ms. Davis. Oh, who got it? Who got it? Ms. Graham's got it, okay. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in reference to 3 grants that's been funded, awarded to Anderson County. Is it okay if we do all 3 of them together, or you want to do them separate?
Unless anybody has any objection, do them all 3, we'll do them separate. Anybody got any pleasure? Do them all 3.
Basically, it's 3 separate grants. One of them is for $74,000, and it's for a chemical detector and plus some other equipment that goes along with that, and also 1 satellite radio. The second grant is for $96,899. It's for a small fast attack robot, a tactical fragmentation vest.
A vest and what kind of robot?
It's a small fast attack robot, which is basically, we already have 1 robot in Anderson County. This is basically another one that will go into the back of the Suburban and be more versatile. Also, tactical fragmentation vest, 2 laptop computers, a carbon fire disruptor. The purpose of this, again, we actually have a carbon fire disruptor as well. This one here is a smaller one, and it basically prevents destroying evidence, kind of keeping it in a smaller location. And that one also comes with a satellite radio. The next one is $75,759, and that's for 9 SCBAs and also 1 satellite radio. Just a note on the 3 satellite radios. This is a requirement that the state has put on the county for an event of catastrophe as far as radio communication loss. And basically, they're funding this through these grants. So each one of these grants has one of those radios kind of looped up in the grant request as well. And this basically comes at no cost to Anderson County.
We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Mr. Warren, second Mr. Allen. Just Captain Miller, you got anything you want to add or say? I don't put you on the spot or nothing, but I just want to say from the sheriff's office standpoint, you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, nothing to add. I just do want to reiterate what Councilman Graham said, that these are Department of Homeland Security grants utilizing federal dollars. They come at no additional cost to us.
Thank you, Captain Miller. Appreciate all what y'all do. I'm sorry, anybody have any questions for Captain Miller? Thank you, Captain. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 12, report from the Planning and Public Works Committee meeting held November 19th. I believe Ms. Wilson sort of had on the sewer thing. Now we're going to market study report. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item that we reviewed was the market study report regarding the County Square project. The report revealed a thorough research of current conditions on the ground, incorporating demographics and observations culminating in the highest and best use recommendations or projections. Supporting data indicates a current over-availability of office space and an under-availability of good quality residential rentals and condominiums in the downtown area. While the specific project concept has yet to be established, we're provided with general development guidelines in terms of product type, design features, rent, pricing structures. We were also given estimates for 2 separate phases of development, with phase 1 developed in 2020 and phase 2 to be developed in 2022. This basically was a warm-up before we start looking at designs and making decisions, so there will be a lot more research to come forward. But basically, the rental and condominium markets are projected to be very strong, and the office market is very weak right now due to over-availability. Under new business, it was noted that there were 2 more pressing matters coming before us soon, and that is to be the updated solid waste plan and a new impact fee proposal. We will take up growth management techniques and development impact fees at our next meeting Monday at noon. If anyone on our committee has more to add, please feel free to do so. And meanwhile, thank you to all that made this effort possible.
Thank y'all. Okay, Ms. Floyd had a question.
I'd like to know the market study report. Okay, who did the market study?
The company I was at Ohio, out west. Where's that company out of? Ohio, I think.
Bowen National Research.
The what?
Bowen National Research.
Okay.
And they were engaged and paid for by Mr. Ron Swenson, president of Peach Property.
Okay, all right. That is the same person, the same man that did the study on the property behind us as well, right?
I don't know who's the one that bought the property back there.
Isn't that the same company that's doing the market study on the property behind us, the old Bales building used to be? Okay, all right. And they paid for the one behind us too?
That is it, Ms. Floyd.
Okay.
They ain't but one.
For the one over that one as well, right? But you said they paid for both of them.
They only paid for, wait a minute. There ain't been but one study, what Ms. Wilson's talking about. It's one behind here at the Bell's property, or the Bell, that's the only one we're talking about. That's the one that's been paid for by Mr. Swinton.
Mr. Chairman,
okay,
I think where the confusion.
So there's only one. Okay, I've seen one.
Yeah, everybody should have a copy of it.
Yeah, but I had seen one, and That's the one back here.
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
There's only one.
I was one Hampshire County's involved in. The city's got something going on.
Are they doing the cities too that you know of? Okay.
The city's doing one on their own on parking. That's right. Got nothing to do with it.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman.
I think that's where it may be coming from. Okay? Because you have so many studies going on, you don't know who's doing what. But I still want to caution us. Okay? This building behind us is going to take up the rest of the parking space if we have any at all. Okay, and you're talking about putting home condominiums, and I understand that you said there will be high rise and top money condominiums behind us, okay? And we're gonna have to be careful. We are not Charlotte, Atlanta, Asheville, or Columbia, or even Greenville. And we're putting all these things, squeezing it up together. We can't only look at the now. We have to look to the future, see how this is going to affect us later on, when we're all gone, Charlotte, to live. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
Just a point of clarification. The request for proposals or qualifications that went out, I think, last year, they came back to us pretty much in the form of studies, too, so that may be where there's some confusion. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 13, report from the Sewer Ad Hoc Committee meeting held November 19th, 2018. Discussion regarding location exit 14 wastewater treatment plant and sewer lines. Chairman Wooten.
Thank you, sir. We had the meeting with the Sewer Ad Hoc Committee, and basically it was a follow-up meeting to the greater sewer plan that we put together earlier in the year and was referenced in the bonds that we spoke about earlier. But one that we wanted to do immediately was to bring sewer at good level to exit 14. But in doing that, we also wanted to be forward-thinking and see where we would need sewer, not in just now, but 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. And if you look at that area, and these engineers look at basins, and basins dictate the efficiency of sewer lines, and exit 14 is not too far from exit 19, where we have sewer concerns also. So we wanted to make sure we're looking at all the exits, how they could connect efficiently, and whether we should put in a wastewater plant at a certain area, and a pump station at a certain area, so that we can maximize where we want to go and not just address the immediate concerns. So the committee was in unanimous support of asking the engineers to tier out the alternatives. What if we did this? How much does it cost? What kind of benefit does it give to the county? If we were to go more, what does it cost and what does it give the benefit to the county? And what's the timeline of that benefit, so that we can weigh out the decision and make the best decision that gets us what we want now, and that's the immediate concern of sewer at exit 14, but also opens up a massive amount of acreage between the two exits that would be allowed for commercial development and potential residential development. So at that point, the committee asked the engineers to tier it out, come back to us with some information and recommendations, and then we can bring something back to council at that time.
Thank you. Coming from the committee doesn't need a second, or any discussion. And what the committee recommended is exactly what Mr. Wooten said, for them to pull out, moving the pump station to a different area, give us a price cost, and also alternative to B, and also see some upgrades to Hurricane Creek Station that is in very great need, and what the cost would be and what the recommendations on that would be. Are there any discussions on that matter? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 14, appointments. Anybody have any? Seeing here none, moving on, item number 15, request by council members. Ms. Floyd. Well, you don't almost got one that I'm seeing unless somebody's got anything.
I have a couple of them, okay? As you all know, every dime of my...
Ms. Floyd.
Every dime of my recreational fund goes to recreation. We have a lot of children in our area with nothing to do and nowhere to go. We are not like the city where they have a recreational center for the kids. So each council member is provided with $25,000 a year for money to go toward recreational programs for our children. And I've got some here for the new foundation home. I would like to allocate $1,000 of District 2's recreational fund to New Foundation. And with this money, they are going to try to get the children ready for the Christmas season, to get them out and to get them to make it available to them to have some things to do around Christmas time. That's $1,000. For Shalom, they are having, or they had a bicycle extravaganza. And they were asking for $1,000 to do that for the Shalom house. Okay, and here's a new one for me as well, is South Carolina Dog Therapy. All right, this is not money for the dogs. This is money to take the dogs out to the children at the different schools. They buy books for the children about the dogs, and they expose one to the other. This is something that I am told that the kids really look forward to, and District 2 would like to allocate $1,000 to them. Okay, and it seems like I had another one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I said New Foundation. I said the dog. I'm missing one. But anyway, the other one. Now this is a big one, but I prepared for it last year. Every other year, the group by the name of Men at Work take the children out of Anderson County to experience different things. They're asking for this year, they're asking for $10,000. And they feel like this will accommodate the children. I think it's 30, I want to say 30-something kids, yeah, 30-something kids. I think they're going to Alabama this year. This is something brand new, and it'll be really good for the kids to follow this. This is white kids, black kids, purple kids, and green and yellow kids. Any kid who want to go with them, or they have a group of children of all ages and all races that they take out every other year, I think, every other year. Okay, last year they went to Washington, D.C. And the year before last, they went to Washington, D.C. I'm really proud of this organization because they do a lot of good in the community and as well as for our children. So that's a total of $10, $11, $12, $13,000. I know there was one more, but I have to come back later on and do it. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Waters, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring this forth in form of a motion from District 3 recreational account. This request for the City of Belton, $2,500 to go toward the Standpipe Festival. As far as putting it on, I bring this in form of a motion.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Graham, second by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So motion carries unanimously. Anyone else have anything? Ms. Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, may I reappropriate the $3,500 that was approved for the Shadow Youth Center on 10/16/18 back to the recreational account for District 7?
Put it back in your district.
Thank
7 recreation account. Have a motion, Ms. Wilson. Second by Mr. Graham. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Right sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Anyone else? Moving on to item number 16, Administrator's Report.
Nothing at this time, Mr. Chairman.
On item number 17, Citizens' Comment. Again, Mr. Harmon calls your name. Please, for the record, state your name and district. Address the chair. You got 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, first citizen signed up is Mary Ashley.
Name is Mary Ashley. Live at 9018 Road.
Hey, Mr. Burns, make sure that mic's on. Get what you can hear. It's hard to hear.
Bit closer? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here to complain about a health hazard in my neighborhood. We had the West Nile virus at Highway 81 and 86 months ago. That is within 2 miles of my home. I not only have mosquitoes, now I have big rats in my home. My neighbor has a yard full of junk. He has 4 large boats that are never used, tarps half on, half off, and they're holding water, causing mosquitoes. Trying to get this through in 3 minutes. He has moved some of his cars, but he still has old sheds that he has built and put junk in them, and they are not enclosed, and they're holding water and causing mosquitoes and rats. Not only has he got boats, but he has old cars with tarps that have been sitting there for years. I have some pictures that I would like to submit to the county council of the backyard. This is not the side or the backyard. It's facing my house. I have been told that there are no laws against him having as many boats as he wants to have. My question is, if there are boats that are holding water and causing mosquitoes and rats, which is a health hazard, what can I do about it?
Okay, Mr. Burns will see you after the meeting. We'll get your information and see if what get addressed to the proper people and see what can be done. That's what I think. That'd probably be Mr. Allen's district and he'll get Ken's district. So we'll see what can be done, and Mr. Burns will get the information after the meeting. Okay?
I spoke with Mr. Johnson yesterday.
Well, like I said, Mr. Burns will get you information after the meeting so it can be done. Okay? He's the administrator. He's Mr. Johnson's boss man. Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Mr. Chairman, next person, I am having some trouble reading his name. I think he's a gentleman from District 1.
Yeah, I was hoping to introduce him because He and I got to know each other these past couple of months, and we met on a couple of occasions, and I invited him to county council, and he's going to be able to speak tonight briefly, but hope to have him back on the agenda to speak in more depth if possible. But his name's Andy Moore, and he has got a powerful story that's been encouraging and uplifting to me. He's had he lost his son, but through that he's seeking to honor his son through a potential memorial at the Anderson Civic Center, and he's got a powerful story, and he's a quality person who's really tells it better than I do. And with that, I'd like to introduce him and thank him for being here.
That might fix for Mr. Burns. Just make sure it's got it good.
Mr. Chairman,
You can pull it up to you. I don't think it's breaking up. We can get it.
Right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman. Council. Like Mr. Wooten said, we've spoke over several months. Also, Mr. Burns and myself and Todd McCormick at the Civic Center, we've been talking about several things about what maybe could possibly happen or I could do for Anderson County. This is my son Parker Moore, murdered in Barbaritos, January of this year. I don't want this to turn into a bitter tragedy for me or my family. I want to make a positive out of this, out of not just for my life, but for his life. Parker's passion was soccer, and we pretty much, he would wear me out playing soccer, let's just put it that way. So I've been thinking of things of what I could do for Anderson County to honor him, and to understand, get other kids and other people to understand his passion for soccer. And I want other kids to enjoy his passion and know who he is. What I've been talking to Mr. Burns and Mr. Wooten and Mr. McCormick is actually, I know the Kid Venture is getting ready to be remodeled. I would like to, what we've been talking about is actually remodeling the corner of the top soccer field up there. Go ahead and move the flagpoles, have a memorial up there for Parker stating who he is, his love for soccer, and renaming the top field the Parker Killiamore Soccer Fields. And it's not just the memorial, but it's also, I want to be able to, with that said, I want to be able to sponsor 2 kids to go to camp every year, and I'd like to be able to sponsor maybe from each division, jerseys from each division. Now, I'd like to work with the coaches on more of what they need. I'm not sure exactly what they may need, but I would like to sponsor more and be able to help more kids to be able to play soccer, go to camp and be on teams, and even further, maybe help develop the field a little more, whatever the soccer field needs. I'd like to be able to raise money. We're raising money now. We've got a GoFundMe page. People are already pouring money in it. Trying to tell them to kind of just hold off until we start doing this. But so far, we've got approximately over 4,000 some odd people that are already joined into this, and they really want to see this to go forward. And with great, I apologize.
But I'm sorry your 3 minutes is up, but we'd love to hear more back. Any way we can work with you. Don't rush it all to be fair, everybody. But our deepest sympathies and thoughts and prayers with you and your family, and hope we can do something to make your son life to go on the betterment of Anderson County's and kids' marriage. And we'll see what we can do. And I appreciate Mr. Wooten bringing this to our attention. and for you and your family wanting to do something other about this. Admire you very much for not wanting to turn this into bitterness. There's very much, and I hope you don't. I hope we can get something worked out, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can we ask him to introduce his wife?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. You want to introduce your family while you're here?
Yes. This is my wife, Misty. My youngest daughter, Haley. I have twins. They're 17, Hannah, she has left, and I had an autistic twin, her brother, her twin, Hayden. And of course, Parker was my oldest. I have 4 kids. So, give you a brief history of me. I grew up in Anderson County, EMS and fire for almost 30 years.
We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, that's what we find damage time.
Mr. Chairman, next speaker is Elizabeth Bant.
Elizabeth Fant, District 3. ATAX money. We need to publicize the things that are great events for people to participate in Anderson County. Last time I mentioned that one county is these little handouts. Both of these are from Williamston from different years. They're great. You can pick them up, carry them with you all year. You already know what the events are going to be. Williamston and the little town of West Pelzer seem to be doing a better job of advertising their events than some of the other small towns. I got one in the mail from the museum this time wanting me to be a member, and it listed 30 events of things that are going on in the museum. And I thought the museum really didn't do anything. But when you publicize and you tell people what it is that you do, and you show that there are events for kids, there are events for people who want to be budding artists, whatever, that's when you get people interested. So you've got to publicize those things. It's interesting that the study that Ms. Wilson gave was exactly what I had said last week about the fact that we don't need more offices downtown. We don't need more offices. We don't have parking places for what we have, as Ms. Floyd said. I don't know if they put rental properties in a facility behind us where those people are going to park. Those people are going to have cars. Where are they going to park? The third thing is, I have to look back at the fact that this is 10 years since 2008. Almost to the date, November the 18th. The horrible night in Anderson County, miscarriage of justice. The thing I think that bothered me the most about that night was the lies and the lack of transparency for what happened that night. We're still not over it. I had a conversation with 2 council members last night, and I mentioned to them that I really did not like the way the budget was done this year, or lack of done this year. One council person told me, well, it was done through the committee meetings, and that was the best place to do it. Well, I grant you that you all have done a lot of work on the committee meetings. That part I certainly approve of, but in no way were those budget meetings advertised. Were those committee meetings advertised as budget meetings? Those of you who know me know that I've been going for the last 5 years to all of them. We didn't have a budget meeting until almost at the very end. I hope we're not going backwards to a lack of transparency again. I understand a lot of the reasons of why you did what you did this year, but I'm not the only person that you have to please. You need to let everybody in Anderson County know what hand washes what, who gets what, how it works, and we did not have a good budget process this year.
Anyone else?
No one else.
Thank you. Now, remarks from council members. Mr. Waters?
I have none this time.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Mr. Allen? Mr. Allen. Ms. Floyd?
Yes, I have something. First of all, I don't even like to think about November the 8th or whatever year it was, because out of all the people that was involved in that, I got the worst of it. I was cussed at, I was prodded, I was talked about, I was abused. And why? All because I belonged in the regime that just left. A lot of the stuff that was going on, half of it was not the truth. I'll stand before God and man and say it, that half of it was not the truth. I was all of the stuff that was going on, I was treated very, very badly. Very bad. You don't see these people here now, because after giving it their best for I don't know how many years, I'm still here. I am still here. But nobody stood up for me or with me. I was by myself, and I couldn't hear nobody pray. It was just me by myself. So I don't want to hear how bad it was that night. Tell me how bad it was since that night for me. I'm still nobody's sweetheart. I still have not backed down. I will stand to the gates of hell, and I will not back down. Yeah, I hate to think about those times. It was awful. It was awful. And nobody stood for me. Nobody. And somebody just snickled just now, believe, but you know, I'm strong. I'm strong. I can take it. The budget meeting, it was never announced that you were having budget meetings within your other meetings. I asked for a budget workshop. That wasn't even granted. A workshop where we could go in and ask questions about the new budget. No, not one person could see the need to have a budget workshop. And then it came out that there was a tax increase in the budget, and there were other things in the budget that we didn't know about it. It has not been easy for me. I have not complained. I just came through another election where I said, if I win, I win. If I lose, I still win. Because I have fought a long, hard battle, and I'm still fighting. I wish that we would, when it comes to the ATAX meeting, I wish that on the sheet that we would advertise what needs to be placed, just more information on the sheet. What's going to be, what needs to be in there and what needs to be out. Like I said, we have people dipping 3 times, not double dipping, but triple dipping, and they even get more money. And those who are trying to do it don't get anything. All right. I wanted to introduce you to Men at Work, but some of them have left. But those of you who are still in here, please stand up. Please stand up. Good. These are the Men at Work. The leader of that group is Marion Tarrant. Mr. Tarrant, could you tell us how many men do you have in the group? 10 men in the group. Okay, and how many children do you have on your rolls now? 45 children, ranging in ages what to what? 6 to 18. These men, thank you so much. These men are worth every penny, every dime, everything that they do for Anderson County, y'all, is helping us. they're making a difference. You can actually see the difference coming from them. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, first of all, before I get started, Mr. Moore, I just wanted to acknowledge, the effort that you're putting forth as far as honoring your son. My prayers is definitely for your family. I cannot imagine that type of loss, but just to see you take that type of tragedy and move forward with it in such a positive direction, I definitely commend you and your family for that effort, and definitely looking forward to seeing what is able to come with that. A couple other things. One thing in particular I'm going to address. It seems like every time we get off on economic development, when we're trying to identify what type of growth is coming into the county, it always, to me, comes out as a criticism toward farmers, because we always worried about it being a chicken farm. My district is Star Ivor and Belton area, which is a big part of rural community in our county, and where we actually house a lot of chicken farms and also a lot of other farms, which also brings a huge tax base into Anderson County, brings a huge amount of jobs into Anderson County, provides for a lot of families in Anderson County, and believe it or not, they provide a lot of food on the tables for Anderson County. So with that being said, we always seem to get a lot of criticism on that, but there is some good comes out of chicken farms and also regular farms, and just wanted to make that mention tonight as well. One other thing, I just came back from South Carolina COG conference, and I hate Burris has left on this, because this is actually a compliment toward his group. But one of the presentations down there, they got to talking about basically multiple counties working together with industrial parks and basically teaming up, attracting industry into the areas. And there's so many counties, and believe it or not, I was proud to sit there when I was looking at some of these presentations, because Anderson County is shining right now. We're very blessed with the economic development we have, but there are so many counties that are struggling with no growth or very little growth. And one of the things that they were presenting on was for them to basically go out with other counties and to form these industrial parks, these joint parks that Burris Nelson, that I think we've done one tonight. And I mean, it's almost a regular event that they bring forth meetings. I mean, we definitely want to thank his group for the efforts that they're putting toward economic development. And according to the state level, and one of the presenters was actually on the federal level, it's definitely the way to go right now. So, I mean, our guys is doing it, so definitely wanted to commend them on that. Also, I want one other thing, just want to congratulate, I know he's not here tonight, but Dan Cooper was promoted to Chief of Staff with Tri-County Tech. That is a huge accomplishment on his part. I think it definitely brings great farewell or great opportunities for Anderson County. We got a very close relationship. He is always on our side as far as moving things forward. And Tri-County Tech, the partnership that we as a county has with them is just unreal. And I mean, it just brings so much economic development growth to our county. It brings educational opportunities to our youth, and basically gives opportunity for our citizens to be able to go to that next level as far as job opportunities. So it's great to see Dan promoted to that position. Definitely look forward his continuation working with Anderson County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Luke?
Yeah, I also want to thank Mr. Moore for coming tonight. I apologize that, you know, our format dictates only so much time, because I look forward to you coming back, but I did want everybody to hear at least a portion of what you've told me, because of how encouraging it is, and just in talking to him is amazing, in the fact that we talked about many things, but he was talking to Todd McCormick about, you know, working with us to help with the trees and the clearing, and to make it just comprehensively better experience for the kids. And so I really appreciate that, and look forward to you being back. So I'll echo one thing that Ms. Floyd talked about, and I could probably myself better understand how ATAX works, how the 8 provisions of the state law work, And if there are efficiencies that we can have by working with different avenues of the budget to either get more bang for the buck or include more people or to just work to better provide park, rec, hospitality, tourism, I'm all for that. So, you know, if that can be taken up in the new budgets, then I'd welcome that. But a lot of positive things going on in Anderson. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from constituents and staff, and I feel like the morale's good. And I look forward to the Christmas season and tackling the new year. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please accept my deepest condolences at your loss, and I believe that as we go forward with your project, that not only you will be richly blessed by that effort, but I believe our county and posterity will too. And I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It's been an incredible year of a lot of hard work that everybody worked so hard together to accomplish. The county budget has so many working parts, it's very hard to digest it all at one sitting. And we do have a joint industrial park that we've been working with. Mr. Burns has helped try to put things together with the Abbeville and Anderson County partnership, bringing economic development to an area that badly needs it. So it's been a real blessing from my perspective to have everyone working so hard for this county. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Short and brief. Star Wars wants a few things about the A-tax. Keep in mind, you can't get it if you don't apply for it. So if any groups out here, I know Mr. Waters had trouble over the years when his district, you're trying to get people to ask for this, you got to apply for it. 2, you got to meet certain criteria. But y'all do realize there's a board. This comes this recommendation tonight. Each council member's got 2 members on that. I believe I would talk to them, have interface with them, so I get here on council meeting night and try to grandstand or this, that, and other and try to find out what it is. As Mr. Brill said tonight, there's a reason why one of them groups did not get no money is because they didn't meet the criteria. 2, the groups getting money out of three pots of money is a good chance that's groups meeting all the criteria and bringing people in from outside of Anderson County. What this is meant to do and getting help on. That's what this is about. So keep that in mind. 2, the budget process this year, like I said, well known since Mr. Crowder was on the Finance Committee chairman, he take great pride in playing in the Finance Committee, taking a great part of the writing the budget, putting on it. And in our ordinance it says about how Mr. House Wayne's committee, a thing on that about writing the budget, all open. One thing different is you can go online and look at anything, any money's been spent in Anderson County. And Ms. Fancy, you can shake your head because you don't Griffith all you want to, and you always like to go back. It's like going back 10 years. That's one thing I hope the new council won't have to fight. You got to know what your history is so you won't repeat itself. But to keep reliving it, it's ridiculous on both sides. It's time to move forward. I hope Anderson County is better than that and has been that before. And hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. More again, if your family makes it through Thanksgiving, our thoughts and prayers with you. Look forward to working with y'all for the betterment of this. I really do. God bless.